Hello, welcome back to the 22 Gaming channel. Today we're going to do something that I've wanted to do for a little bit, and that is a zombie map tier list. To preface this, I haven't played all of these maps. I have played a majority of them, but as we go on, you'll kind of see where I place them, and the ones that I haven't played, I'll just leave them there. So to get right into it, I think the first one that I'll pull, and probably the most played zombies map throughout the time that I've been playing zombies, so since World at War or so, I want to say it's probably Farm. So even though it is probably my most played map, especially in kind of the olden days when Black Ops 2 was relevant, it's probably my most played map. And just because it is my most played map, I'm not going to say that it's the greatest map. There's things that it's missing. I believe it didn't have a pack-a-punch. I know it had perks, but the Reagan Mark III wasn't that good. It just had flaws. And of course, with any Black Ops 2 map, it was not running very good. It ran pretty poorly on the system it was made for. So I'm going to place Farm on A tier. It could be super if it had, if it was a little bit bigger, if the fog didn't exist, things like that. But I think that's going to be our baseline. So Farm, one of my all-time favorites. Such a fun map just to get on with a friend or two and just grind it out for a few rounds. Next, I'll go ahead and grab Ascension. I think Ascension is, again, one of those maps where I have a lot of playtime in it. It was like the first DLC I bought for Black Ops. And nostalgia, definitely a lot of nostalgia for that map. I didn't care for the monkeys, and the map is pretty easy, especially when they came out with PhD Flopper. But a lot of good nostalgia in that map. I remember just playing it solo with my friends because I didn't have another controller, so we would just take turns playing it. So a lot of memories in Ascension as well. Good map. I really like it. I'm going to throw that on A tier as well. Next, I'll grab Buried. And Buried is one that I haven't spent a lot of playtime in it. I've probably only played like maybe less than 5 times. It looks cool if you watch other people play it. The map is a little too tight, like narrow for me, and it was kind of starting to play it or trying to play it right when it came out or right when it was your first time playing it. You kind of have to get used to how things work, like the giant crashing through to open the doors or whatever else he did. But I never really got with Buried. It was just kind of too narrow, hard to train for me, and just not my favorite. I'm going to throw that in C. Bus Depot, conflicted about Bus Depot. I think Bus Depot was cool. If I was going to play Black Ops 2, I'm going to gravitate towards Farm more than Bus Depot. I don't think it's a bad map, but all the maps are kind of small. Especially like Town is small, Farm is really small. Bus Depot, there's not a whole lot to do. I think it's a pretty just standard map. I know that they left out a lot of features when they started making the maps just for graphical reasons or whatever it might have been. I'm going to throw Bus Depot in front of Buried, but again, probably another mid map just to see. Call of the Dead was a cool map. I'll throw it in B. Again, it was one of those maps where I didn't play too much, and it was kind of like, some instances were kind of narrow. It wasn't too hard to train, but it wasn't like the most exciting map. It didn't feel too different from the other maps that came out alongside it. So I'll place that at B. I think that's a good middle tier map. For all the Dead Ops, I don't really care for the arcade style game. It's cool that they added the first person to some of them, but if you're playing zombies and you're playing Dead Ops, what are you doing? I'm gonna throw those all in D. It kind of just feels like an extra mode that they didn't really need to add, just copy and paste from the time before. Derice is another one of those maps where if you started on Nocturne Toten or started on World at War rather, Derice is definitely an S tier map, one of my favorite maps for sure, especially the remaster in Black Ops 3. Even though they took away some things, that map is awesome. I have countless playtime in that too. I remember playing Black Ops with just randoms in Xbox 360 and having so much fun in Derice. We always did the catwalk strategy, and I remember this one time that we were doing the catwalk strategy and then we just had one guy train on the bottom floor, so it worked really good. It got us flying through rounds, and I'm pretty sure we made it to like round 50 or 60, which at the time before Cold War and people were sweaty at zombies, was a really big deal, especially for Black Ops or Black Ops 3, where you were like 2-hit or 1-hit or whatever it was if you didn't have Jug. So super cool map, one of my favorites. If you haven't played zombies and you're trying to get into it, grab Black Ops 3. It's always on sale, and get Derice with it. Such a good map. With that being said, I'm going to throw the Giant up here with Derice just because they're about the same thing, and we'll count them as one. Die Maschine is another one of those maps that I really like. I go back and forth with it. I do really like it, but like some things like missing or only having a couple of the armor, the equipment buy drops or whatever they are, the desks, the table, that's kind of annoying just to have the couple. It's kind of annoying also to only have the one armor guy on the bottom, just having to run all the way from where you're camping. Again, it's still a big like upgrade in terms of making it more playable in comparison to the older maps, but those things kind of irk you when you're playing it for a while. So with that being said, I'm going to throw D Machina up at A tier. I still do like Farm and Ascension better, but D Machine is probably one of those maps I'm going to gravitate towards over the other maps that are in Cold War. Die Rise I didn't care for. I'm going to throw that in C. It was a cool like kind of map layout, but it's playable, but not if you're getting on to play Die Rise. Firebase Z, one of my favorites, so I'm gonna throw this in S tier. I love Firebase Z. It's an easy map to grind on, and it's pretty easy to fly through rounds. Not as quick as D Machina is, but if you're sitting in the weapons lab or in the colonel's office, I forget what it's called. If you're sitting in either of those rooms and you're just headshotting, you got dead wire on or napalm burst or something along those lines, and you're just able to get headshots, the rounds are flying by. Super easy strategy, really fun map to play, not too long to get set up. So if you die on it early round, easy to get back into it. Really fun map, really like it. Good job on Firebase Z to the Treyarch team or whoever made it. Going to 5. 5 is one of those maps where it's like, oh my goodness, if you finish the story mode or whatever it was, we get an extra map. But it was one of those ones where I remember playing and getting to like around 10 and being like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Granted, this was 10 years ago or 11 years ago now when Black Ops came out, but it was a cool addition. Not really one of my favorite maps. I'll throw it in front of Die Rise. Going to a classic of Call of Duty history, I would say, and that's Kino der Toten. I think that is another S tier map. I'm going to place that. I almost feel bad placing it after Firebase Z, but I definitely have more hours in Firebase Z now. Kino is kind of one of those maps where I feel like if you're playing it, it's kind of hard to play it on co-op or if you have 3 players when the main stage area or training area is occupied. So it's kind of hard to run 2 trains in there and get to higher rounds. I feel like it's way easier to get on them or get higher rounds when it's solo, but when you're playing co-op, it's pretty hard to do so. So I'm going to put that above Farm just in terms of playability for multiple players. And I think that's most of the time when I'm looking at is playability for multiple players, because I'm not really that much of a solo player. I think Kino is a little bit better than Farm, but again, for training purposes, I think Kino could be S tier, but not quite there. Moon, I'm going to throw Moon in front of Call of the Dead. I don't really have much to say about Moon. Cool concept idea. Cool map. I recognize that it's fun to play. It just wasn't one of my favorites, but I recognize that it's still kind of like a mid-tier map. It's not bad, but it's not the greatest. I think the first starting room is really cool, especially where they kind of reflect that to Forsaken. Again, not the greatest, not the worst. Mob of the Dead was a cool map. I think it came out in Black Ops 2. I think the second mode or whatever you went into was really cool too. I'm going to throw that probably in mid-tier as well. I'll put that above Call of the Dead. I don't have a ton of playing time in this map, but it was still a cool map nonetheless. Nocturne Tone, got to throw that up here. Classic map, regardless of if there's a lot of training. Obviously, it's the first one that we got, and if you're kind of posted up above the staircase and you got your flamethrower, your ray gun, or I forget all the weapons that are in there. The Tommy gun, I forget what was good back in the day, but Nocturne Tone was a really fun map to grind out, and especially when it started lagging and it just got really crazy. It was a lot of cool memories for that map specifically, and a lot of hours in that map too. Moving on to Nuketown Zombies. I think Nuketown Zombies is actually really fun. It was really cool to see, granted before they brought back Nuketown for 40 years in a row. I'm going to say Nuketown is probably right after D Machina. I think Nuketown had a lot of good training spots too. It was a cool map. I liked the aesthetic of it. It was fun to play. Granted, again, it's not one of those maps that I had a ton of hours in, but again, a really cool map. Origins, I hate this map. The only time I've ever got on it is to do the Easter egg with a group of people, and it took forever. Just a lot of agony in this map. So Origins is a no for me. Outbreak is cool. I just played it yesterday. It's fun. It gets really hard really quick though in terms of zombie damage. I'm going to put that probably above Moon. I think it's a fun mode to play, and I do come back to it every now and then again just to get my guns leveled up so I can get camos and stuff like that, because it's quicker than Outbreak than going in a regular zombies map. So Outbreak is cool. It's good. It's useful. I like Outbreak. Revelations I did like as well too. It was kind of all over the place for me. I'm thinking B tier for this map as well, maybe just after Outbreak. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in Outbreak. Cool map, cool combining everything, but it was a lot going on for me, and it was kind of just like, eh. It reminds me of the space track in Crash Nitro Kart. If you played that, when you have to race against the boss, I forget what his name is, but if you know, you know. Shadows of Evil was sick. Black Ops 3 is amazing, one of the best Black Ops games. I'm gonna put that in S tier. I'll put that above, I'm thinking above Firebase. Shadows of Evil is such a good map for coming with the game. It feels like a DLC map with how good it is. They put a lot of time into it. Going into the beast mode is really sick. Perks are all in good locations. Getting the chance to spawn like the gun and stuff out of the little pods is really cool. And then I think the gobblegums were cool as well. I didn't think it was a bad idea. It could be OP at times, but it enhanced the playtime. If you don't want to play with them, you didn't have to. Shangri-La was another cool map. Pretty hard, I feel like. It was a lot going on. It kind of reminds me of Buried, and because of that, I'll probably put it right after Buried. I definitely have more playtime of Shangri-La, and just because the mechanics of Shangri-La are better than Buried, I'm going to put that above it, but kind of impartial to Shangri-La. Shino Numa, again, another classic map. Love Shino Numa. Pretty decent training spots, kind of slow if you got in the water, if I remember correctly. I love Shino Numa though, really good map, definitely S tier. Town is another one of those classic maps. Obviously it's Black Ops 2, which is pretty old now, but Town was really cool too. I'll probably put that right after Ascension. I do really like Town, but the lava and that type of thing, just dying on accident basically, it hinders the gameplay. If they would have taken out the lava, or at least made it not damage to you, as well as the fog really messes it up. I think it would be a way better map, and I'm actually going to move it after Die Maschine. I really like Die Maschine. Transit, I really did like Transit. I didn't realize until after the fact how bad the fog was. Like, I think it was just cool. Like, if you got off the bus, it was kind of like this race to get back to the non-foggy areas because the denizens would mess you up. But it was cool. They had a lot of Easter eggs in it. I didn't think it was bad. I don't think I ever got the jet gun either, the times I was playing it. I think I was a little bit too young to grasp how to get it or how to do Easter eggs or whatnot. I think Transit's probably mid-tier. It is something similar to Outbreak where you have this big old map and kind of have the Easter egg objectives, but Transit, middle tier. Good map. I liked it, especially when you see now, if you go to YouTube and you search how it looks without the fog, it looks really cool. I'd like to go back and play it without the fog and do it from there. Verrucht, again, another one of those classic maps. I really do like Verrucht. It was pretty narrow, which I think is what hinders a lot of the older maps. Granted, you only have so much room for storage or whatnot when you're playing older maps because the PlayStation can't run it or whatever you're playing on. Verrucht, I think, is probably A tier, maybe at the end, A tier. Voyage of Despair, if I remember correctly, is the cruise map from Black Ops 4. I did not like Black Ops 4, and this map made me not play any Black Ops 4. D tier. Better than Origins though. Zetsubo no Shima was really cool. I'm going to give that a C. No, I'll give it a B. Yeah, I'll give it a B. And then Grud Krovi, I think, is the only other DLC map I played out of these. And I think this map was actually really cool. I don't know what happens if I do this. What? Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm going to put Grud Krovi at top of B tier. I'll put it above Outbreak because it was a really cool map. So I think most of these are Black Ops 4 maps, if not all. I don't think Horizon Drac is, but I never played this map. I think that kind of wraps it up. Black Ops 4 was an awful game. If you are ever thinking about getting it, don't get it. It was not good at all unless you're playing multiplayer only, and even at that, just play Black Ops 3 instead. I think this is going to be my list, though. Forsaken and Marauder Tone isn't on here. Forsaken, I'm going to put at probably A tier right behind Die Maschine. I do like Forsaken, but the abominations are really awful, and Marauder Tone will probably go like right before Die Rise because I don't like that map. I think it sucks. With all this being said though, if you watched all the way through the video or if you skipped to see what I placed on, thank you for checking it out anyways. If you like zombies content or gaming content in general, be sure to subscribe and like the video, and we'll see you again on the next one.